And now for something completely different. Hello everyone, I have returned to Cypresswood Disc Golf Course for a different round of sorts. I'm going to do a solo round that's best throw, but instead of it being backhand, I'm going to do forehand or sidearm. And the reason I'm doing that is I'm a lot further behind in my sidearm and forehand throwing, forearm, or what do we call it, forehand throwing, as compared to my backhand. In fact, when I'm on the course, 95% of the time I'm throwing using my backhand. Well, I'd like to bring up my sidearm game, so that's what I'm doing here today. So let's go ahead and get going. Somewhat positive. I'm going to have to learn to throw a little bit further this way so that the disc goes that way. So it's all part of the learning experience. Alright, so both of these throws were roughly about the same distance, but this one's slightly less obstructed, so I'm going to go with this one. I don't know how that got around so well, but let's try another. That's a bit more like what I wanted, but a little too high. I need to focus on straightforward, less airtime. Okay, so this disc and my leopard over there, which you probably can't see on camera, are about the same distance apart, luckily. This is about 3 feet closer, so I'm going to go ahead and go with this. And the only types of throws I'm not going to make that are with sidearm are going to be with putting. So anytime I'm going within the circle, generally speaking, I'm going to putt. So let's give it a shot. It would be nice for once to dial in my putts on camera like I do at the house. Wah. A little too high, but that's basically what I want. That's a lot closer to what I wanted. That's the exact same height that I wanted. That's the exact line that I wanted. I hooked it a little bit too close to the tree, but I think the end result is not going to be bad. Let's see what I've got. So my first throw got me here. My second throw, right here. This is closer to what I want. The cut roll was not intentional. It's a little bit closer to what I wanted, but that's not the overstable disc I would do that with. Alright, I put my bag just behind my Mako and I propped up my Mako so you can see where that's at. The shark and the Mako are about identical distances, but the sun's behind my back. The wind is neutral, so I'm going to putt from here. I was way too high, and that's going to go off towards the bayou. Crap. Now for something even more overstable. So if you can see it, my bag is propping up the Rhino and where it landed. Here's the Rock 3. I'm going to go ahead and putt from here. way too high. That's closer to what I wanted, but I tilted way too much. Better, but I would have liked to have seen it up more. Alrighty, so the good news is I'm in circle 2, so I can putt. The bad news is I'm in circle 2, so let's see how these putts go. Well, at least I can run it now. The aggressive bid was trash. So the thing for me is, I know I'm better at this than I show on camera, but I'm also terrible with sidearm and I'm growing. So I have to adjust my expectations to the reality that I'm playing with a skill that is not nearly as developed as my backhand skill, which isn't terribly developed in the first place. And you know, the thing is, objectively, I recognize that I'm better than I was just 4 months ago because I review all the footage that I've ever recorded and I am noticeably better. But the interesting thing about disc golf is no matter how good you get, you feel like you're not good enough sometimes when you're throwing really bad, or when you're throwing really good, you're like, yes, this is what I can do. So it's kind of an interesting experience. I'm going on 50 and anyways, let's throw. Too high, but that's the direction I was aiming for, recognizing it's going to go that way, so I need to release a tiny bit later. Let's see if this camera angle is better. That's a lot closer to what I wanted. Tiny bit too high, but much better, so I made a good correction here. Alrighty, my 2 discs landed here. I'm going to use this as a marker because these are the 2 discs that I putt with. I tried. I can only hope you see me, but my rhino is right here. The Mako was a few feet behind it, so I'm going to putt from the rhino. So I present to you the #1 reason I want to learn forehand in disc golf. Hole 6. And these aren't Mandos, but they are hard as heck for me to get through. And I've gotten good with my backhand of getting through more often than not, but I hate not being able to see where I'm going. So I want to use the forehand to kind of go through. So, and given the range that I'm throwing these, I should be using a mid-range, but I'm going to keep going with a fairway driver for my run-ups or walk-ups, but I'll go mid-range or putter for my standstills. That literally went into 7's fairway. I'm on the fairway to 7. Sounds like a song from the 70s about disc golf. Now to the untrained eye, it may seem like I was aiming for those trees because that's what I hit. Not necessarily the case. But I can do some good throws sometimes. Alright, so that camera is where my Mako 3 landed. My AVR is here. My Rhino is there. Okay, so the reality is I need to be using mid-ranges as opposed to fairway drivers, because almost every time I throw a fairway driver it's just way too overstable, even my most unstable disc, which is a Leopard. So here's my straightest mid-range, which is a Mako 3. And I got to work on the run-up, or the walk-up in my case. This next one needs to be better. I'm in the fairway. Alrighty, so my best throw netted me about 70 plus feet beyond the tee pad. So I'm just gonna throw with putters the rest of the way. I'm gonna use my Mako 3 as my first throw because it's straight if I use enough power and aim it correctly. But if that fails, I'm gonna disc down even more to something like my AVR, which is pretty straight but slower. Unfortunately, I'm throwing to where they basically do that. And I need them to go straight, like so. So in case you can't see it, I put my bag right beyond the Rhino, which I'm not going to take because that would only be good. I've got one putter that I'm going to use. And my next closest, a Mako. Alrighty, that bag is where this landed. This is where the Rhino landed. And I'm off of this hole. Okay, this is another right-hand friendly hole, so I'm going to use my most unstable discs to throw that away, which is my Leopard and my Mako 3. That's my best throw in a few holes. That's about par for course. So I can't get the best angle with that camera due to the direction of the sun, so you're not going to be able to see the entire flight of the disc, but I'm going to go throw that way. That's about 100 feet. Alright, so this Mako was actually about 20 feet closer, but on the other side of some bushes that left that completely obstructed. So I'm actually going back about 20 feet just because I can see the basket from here. Parked. I guess I can run it. Unbelievable. 2 feet in front of the basket, but I missed it. Absolutely unbelievable, but I am not going to complain. So as you might imagine, this is a bit of a humbling experience for me. I hope you're learning from my mistakes, as apparently I'm not. But got the longest hole on the course. There's going to be a lot of throws between here and there. I'm going to start off with a driver and a walk-up. There we go. Okay, so I'm about 130 feet away from the basket, maybe 140. I got a disc up to a driver, but stand still. All right, so unfortunately for me, I'm in circle 2. I mean, it's fortunate that I've got this far out of 2 throws, but that means that I can't practice approach. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put these 2 in as close as I can, and then I'm going to try 2 side arm approaches. Ooh, let's go. All right, 2 sidearm approaches. Almost rang that one up. And didn't do a damn thing with that one. Anyway, all right, this gives me hope. With sidearm, I can get close. All right, so I learned a lot with this little experiment. I learned a lot with my sidearm or forehand. A lot of progress to be made. I'm certainly better with my backhand, but I really need to work on this aspect of my game so that I can have discs that fade to my right, considering I'm a right-hand player. I also do practice sometimes with my left arm, either sidearm or forehand or with backhand, but that's behind what I can do with my right hand. But I'm doing that for easy outs and standstill stuff that might get me out of certain danger zones. But anyways, yeah, I don't have much else to say. I want to thank you very much for putting up with me and this learning experience, and I want you all to have a great day.